Africa Investor Today is proudly brought to you in association with Petro SA and Afrexim Bank.
Hello and a warm welcome to Africa Investor Today with me, Zalin. We start our bulletin with news on politics and economy. U.S. Ambassador to Angola, Dan Mwazina, pledged the U.S. government's efforts to reinforce bilateral cooperation with Angola in various fields. During his inspection visit to the U.S.-funded social projects in central Humbo province on Saturday, Mwazina said he will hold talks with local government officials on assessing agricultural potentials in the province and outlining strategies to tap them to improve the living standards of the local people. According to the diplomat, the U.S. government has also financed the Angolan government to fight HIV, AIDS, malaria and other tropical diseases, build primary schools for Angola to implement the Education for All campaign, and assist ex-soldiers to integrate themselves into society. Campaigning officially got underway yesterday for the October 28 elections in Mozambique, the fourth since the Southern African country became a multi-party democracy 15 years ago. President Armando Guebuza of the Governing Liberation Front of Mozambique party is being challenged by Afonso Dhlakama, longtime leader of the opposition Mozambican National Resistance, and Davis Simango, mayor of Beira City and founder of a breakaway opposition group. 17 parties and 2 coalitions are meanwhile in the running for seats in the Mozambican parliament known as the Assembly of the Republic. Former rebel movement Renamo has meanwhile suffered a series of setbacks since 2004 when Dhlakama last ran against Guebuza and lost by more than a 2-1 margin. In local elections in November, Renamo failed to win a single mayoral seat. In other politics and economy news, Madagascar's 3 main opposition camps are united in their determination to implement a power-sharing deal and no longer recognize the authority of President Andry Rajoelina, a former president, said on Sunday. The 3 groups met on Sunday to agree on a common position after rejecting the new government Rajoelina's unilaterally formed this week. Then opposition leader Rajoelina spearheaded a campaign of street protests and eventually ousted President Marc Ravalomanana with the help of distant soldiers in March. Analysts say if the opposition, which is united more through convenience than any convergence of ideology, manages to hold together and galvanize public opinion, Rajoelina could face the same kind of protests he used to seize power. Let's take a look at banking and finance news when we come back.
Redefining energy means redefining life. At the Petroleum, Oil and Gas Corporation of South Africa, our commitment to greater innovation and greener fuels has made us pioneers in the field of gas-to-liquids technology. It has also earned us worldwide recognition for producing the cleanest fuels through environmentally friendly processes. That's how we've become the international leader in diesel technology. Through pure innovation, pure energy, pure brilliance.
Welcome back. In some banking and finance news, a new alliance that aims to promote financial services for the world's poor starts its inaugural meeting in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, today. The Alliance for Financial Inclusion will bring together central bank officials from 60 countries throughout Asia, Africa, the Middle East and South America at its Global Policy Forum, which runs until September 16th. The forum will look into ways to give 50 million poor people access to financial services over 4 years. About half the world's adult population of 2.5 billion people don't have access to bank accounts and are unable to borrow money from formal financial institutions. Exactly 1 month after the Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Sanusi Lamido Sanusi sacked 5 bank managing directors over the bad loans crisis, investors at the Nigerian Stock Exchange have lost 688 billion naira in market capitalization. Although the volume of traded bonds at the over-the-counter bond market and traded shares of the equities sector declined during the month of August, activities at the OTC recorded a boost in the last 8 months compared to the equities sector. Precisely between January and August 2009, 11.6 billion units of bonds valued at 12.12 trillion naira changed hands, compared with 5.71 billion units worth 5.72 trillion naira in the same period last year. However, despite moves by the Council of the Exchange to avert confidence crisis emanating from the CBN action through the suspension and consequently lifting of the suspension on the troubled banks' shares, the banks' shares and the other blue chip stocks suffered value depreciation in the course of transactions during the month. After a short break, we take a look at African business news. Do stay with us.
Afrexim Bank is Africa's leading trade finance bank, an organization dedicated to promoting African trade through credit, risk-bearing and advisory services. We pride ourselves on having local presence throughout the continent and are committed to extending our award-winning trade and project finance programs to unlock private sector development continent-wide. We invite you to become a part of our vision for a strong Africa in a changing world. If you trade within Africa, contact us to support you.
We now take a look at some companies and market news. The global economic impact and weakening in the market for Sasol's products has affected its profits, the chemicals giant said this morning, and it has released financial results for the year ended June 30th, 2009. Sasol also reports its mining black empowerment agreement has received a setback after its partner Exxaro Coal Mpumalanga said it was withdrawing from the deal. Earnings attributable to shareholders decreased by 39% to 13.6 billion rand from 22.4 billion rand in the previous financial year, while earnings per share and headline earnings per share decreased by 39% to 22 rand 90 cents and by 33% to 25 rand 42 cents respectively compared to the prior year. Sasol said that operating profit of 24.7 billion rand has declined by 27% compared to the previous financial year. Negotiations between the Derby Group, the owners of Warad Telecom Uganda, and the ESSA Group on a possible takeover of Warad Telecom operations in Uganda are in advanced stages, senior Warad officials disclosed recently. Speaking in an interview, the head of products and services at Warad Telecommunications Uganda, Mr. Shine George, disclosed that in about 3 months negotiations will be concluded with ESSA Groups taking over control of Warad Uganda, among many other telecommunications portfolio of the Derby Group's African assets. Warad officials in Kampala are optimistic that the takeover will enable further expansion and innovation of more tailor-made products from different subscribers, and company is promising to be a force to be reckoned with. We bring you some infrastructure news next. Do stay with us.
Africa Investor, the leading African investment magazine, is essential reading for investors in Africa, filled with the very latest in Pan-African investment and finance news. In addition, log on to africa-investor.com to find out more about our exciting capital market, infrastructure and tourism events, and our long-standing investable Africa Investor 100 Index series, which tracks over $600 billion of African equities. Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.
Africa Investor Today is proudly brought to you in association with Petro SA and Afrexim Bank.